think that they do that type of behavior.
They weren't expecting it, and they were just kind of startled. And I think that's how we all were.
There's a hole there with the stick still in it. And, the end of the stick's all dirty from digging the hole.
They have taught me. This is what my experiences have been. I don't get my information because I read it in a book or I saw it online. This is my life.
I think there's various reasons for that. I believe that, those are the raw materials they have.
Happy Tuesday, everybody, and welcome to the Not a Boss Continuum. And I have an amazing guest for you tonight. But first, real quick, let me just say hi to everybody in the chat. Hang on. I know I got all my lovelies in here tonight. Hi, Gary. I can't wait to hear about your trip to Brown Springs. I don't know anything about it, so I can't wait to hear from you about it. I want to know all the good, juicy stuff that happened. Hi, Val. How are you? Judy, how are you? Crystal J, how are you? Let's see who else is in here. Chiro Sounds, how are you? Let's see who else is here tonight. Jean Hudson, how are you, Jean? I hope you're not too cold up there. Hi, Ida, how are ya? Hi, Mark. Jamie, hi, Jamie. Jamie was on the show last night with me and Amber, and we had such a good time. So if you guys didn't get a chance to see the show last night live, definitely go check it out. It was a lot of fun. Even at the end, she did some like impromptu readings for us. It was just so much fun. It was amazing. So, but tonight we have a special treat. I've been wanting to have Tonia on for so long, and it finally just kind of everything aligned for it to happen for us tonight. So let me pull up her bio. All right. Tonia Braddock is an intuitive empath specialized in quantum healing hypnosis, EFT tapping, and the emotion code, where she deep dives into the subconscious mind to assist and teach people how to tap into their own inner healer naturally and intuitively. She hosts the Existential Empath Podcast, where she shares tips and techniques on how to strengthen one's intuitive gifts to allow major shifts in consciousness to take place. Tonia worked in the healthcare field for nearly 15 years, where she experienced many paranormal experiences, which opened her up to understanding her abilities on a much deeper level. She is also a Sasquatch and ET experiencer and has participated in several CE5 events in Washington and North Idaho. Tonia also has the ability to activate people in their own knowledge of light language to assist with elevating one's consciousness. And everybody, let's give a warm welcome to Miss Tonia Braddock.
Hi, everybody. Wow, you have a great chat. Everybody's in there so nice.
Yeah, I have such a good chat. It is my soul tribe.
I know. Hi,
it's my soul tribe. Love it. They always have amazing, like they're all so intelligent too. Like they're all like they have questions and they're like, oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, best chat in the world. So Tonia, I know
what do we want to talk about tonight?
Well, there's a lot I want to talk about tonight, but the first thing I really would like for you to kind of talk about tonight, how important it is about, raising our vibration.
Yes.
Like how to do it, why we should be doing it, like that's kind of the two things that a lot of people kind of just get very kind of confused about what it really means to raise your vibration and how to do it.
Absolutely. And so, Nikola Tesla said, if you want to understand the secrets of the universe, you think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. So we are all vibrational beings, and our internal vibration is a direct reflection of our external vibration and vice versa. So, where we feel inside is how we are going to be perceiving our external reality. So if you think everything is attacking you, then you're going to attract everything is attacking you. But if you think everything is loving you, then you're going to attract that. So when we're looking at vibration and frequency, it's very important to raise our vibration or expand our vibration. So we want to take a look at our emotions, like where are we at on the emotional spectrum? So our emotions hold certain vibrations and certain frequencies. So fear, hatred, guilt, shame, they're all on the lower end of the frequencies, and they're much longer waves, more drawn out waves. Okay. Now, and now love, joy, happiness, they're at the higher end of the chart, and those are going to be much faster. So when when they say time flies when you're having fun, it's because you're at a higher frequency and that you're in a state of joy.
Okay.
Yeah. So we have a lot of terminology that we use, in the English language, and it really implies that, to some of this when it comes to frequency and vibration. But, a lot of it is working through our unprocessed emotions, and our subconscious mind runs the show 95% of the time, 90 to 95%, where our conscious mind is about 5 to 10%. Okay. So if you think of an iceberg, look at if you visualize an iceberg in the water, the top portion that you see above the water, look at that as the conscious mind. Well, if you go beneath the water, you see there's a huge iceberg under there that you may not see on the top of the water. That is your subconscious mind, right? So when we're looking at raising our frequency, we've got to dive into the subconscious mind, because if that's running the show 90 to 95% of the time, it's really important to look at those things. So we could look at our childhood, what types of emotions did we trap as kids, right? Like our limited beliefs.
Yeah. I know all about those.
Exactly. And we all have them. We can't say, oh, I don't have any childhood, whatever. Trauma can be in different layers too. A trauma could be you're bullied as a child, or a trauma could be you're sexually abused as a child. I mean, there's very different variations in that as well. So, that's the first place to start, is to look at your emotions. And so when we look at raising our frequency, we want to look at it from a multidimensional aspect. So we're going to look at physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual levels of that, right? So from a physical standpoint, what we can do are some basic things. How are we eating, right? So are we eating a lot of processed foods? Are we eating a lot of things out of aluminum cans where we can attract heavy metals? To, heavy metal detoxing was one thing that I did. I started it like 20 years ago, but it has amped up my intuition like nobody's business, because when we are, ingesting heavy metals, which can come from a variety of things, it can come from, maybe we have mercury fillings, or we're eating out of aluminum cans, or we are chemtrails, we're breathing all of this stuff in, and we're eating things. A lot of our food is sprayed, has pesticides on it and whatnot. Right. What does this do? It anchors us into lower frequencies, right? So when you think of metals, you think heavy metals, right? It anchors you down. And so, some of the best things you can do to start off from a physical standpoint is to start doing some cleansing, some heavy metal cleansing, parasite cleansing, fluoride. Okay. Fluoride is a big one. And I want to talk about that with you with the pineal gland.
Yes. Tell me about the fluoride.
Yeah. So most of our water systems have fluoride in them. They've been putting them in there since I think when I researched it, this was a rabbit hole I went down many years ago. I started researching it, but they started putting it in our water, I think in the 40s or 50s. Maybe you've got a really smart chat out there. Maybe they'll know the details on this, but fluoride actually calcifies our pineal gland. Our pineal gland is like our antenna to source. Okay. Our antenna to our higher version of us, our soul self. And so there's ways that we can decalcify that. So eliminating fluoride in our toothpaste. So getting fluoride-free toothpaste. Looking at our water sources. Where's our water coming from? I get reverse osmosis water where they actually eliminate everything out of the water, but then I add the minerals back into the water. Usually tap water has fluoride in it because it's coming from the government streams. But so yeah, looking at ways to decalcify. Raw cacao, if you can get your hands on some raw cacao. And everything I'm talking about right now is on my website. For some of you who are like, whoa, this is really overwhelming and I want to learn more, you can check out my website. But tamarind is one. You can make tamarind tea. There is, what else? I have a little list over here because I was just putting this together because I'm going to do a show on all of this.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so much information. Boron. Okay, so boron and iodine, those are simple ways that you can decalcify your pineal gland. Sun gazing, that's another one. Just sitting out in the sun 15 minutes before the sun comes up and 15 minutes before it goes down, you can actually look at the sun. There's a good documentary, I think it was on Amazon or Hulu, called Eat the Sun. It's very interesting because it shows both sides of it, the positives and the negatives of it. But the pineal is made of crystals. Okay. So it's actually like literally our antenna. And that's how when we start to decalcify it, you will notice you will have more what appear to be paranormal experiences. It's because you are actually seeing beyond the veil. And many of us are starting to do that now as we are beginning to expand our consciousness. But if you want to supercharge it, then I would suggest heavy metal cleansing, parasite cleansing, and then eliminating fluoride, in your diet. Those are some simple things that you can do to elevate your frequency physically.
All right. No, but those are really simple things. I mean, it really is something that's I think everybody has kind of gotten so much more on everyone's radar to eat clean, to get rid of a lot of these, like deodorants, right? Like a lot of us, have like gone away from like, regular deodorant, and we're using things that doesn't have, toxins and stuff. So I think we're becoming more conscious as to what we are putting in our bodies or on our bodies, except for my makeup. I'm not giving up my makeup.
You don't have to give up your makeup, but you can research clean brands. I like 100% Pure. They're awesome. They don't have a bunch of stuff, but you don't have to give up your makeup. You can definitely find clean makeup.
Does it last 20? Because I'm a property manager. I'm out in this 90-something degree heat down
here. I hear you. I lived in Florida for 20 years.
I'm sweating. I get constantly stuck in the rain, and I gotta have everything has to like
stay on. Yeah. I hear you. You'll sweat it right off in Florida. But
I used to come in from the property, be out on property, and come into my assistant and go, "Did I sweat off my eyebrows? How are my eyebrows?"
Do I look like a raccoon? I got black mascara around my eyes. Well, in a lot of these things, I just suggest taking it slow, because once you start learning this, some people want to go balls to the wall and throw away everything in their house and start over. That's really overwhelming. But if you can do one thing at a time and just say, okay, I'm gonna switch to fluoride-free toothpaste. Okay. Dr. Bronner's is a good one. I love that brand. They have a good one. I like the spearmint. You can even get bentonite clay. My dad actually brushes his teeth with just baking soda and hydrogen peroxide, and he hasn't had cavities in years. I'm 46 years old, never had a cavity in my life. So, and I haven't taken fluoride since I was 20, probably. So for people out there saying you need fluoride for your teeth, I'm a prime example that you don't need fluoride for your teeth. And so, I think that too much fluoride is a neurotoxin, and that's where we need to start as our water source, and
now I drink tons of it's like I feel guilty because I drink only bottled purified water, but then I feel guilty because I just added to the landfill with all of my bottles, because I drink a lot of water. I drink tons of water. Now, I've also heard you can put shungite or things like that into your water. Now, what does it do though? What when you put crystals and things like that in your water?
I'm glad you brought that up, because I was going to say, if you're drinking bottled water, use shungite. So Peter the Great actually would, when he was in war over in Russia, he would have his warriors sit in these warm natural springs made of shungite. So there was shungite all around him. And what he began to recognize is that his warriors were healing much faster. And so there's a lot of healing properties and purifying properties to shungite, and it protects you against negative energy. If you could see behind my screen right now, I have shungite all around here, and it's my favorite crystal.
It is my favorite. It is hands down my favorite. Hands down.
And so you can put, just make sure you get elite shungite if you're going to use it for water, because you want the purest. And it's more of, it's shinier. It's more silvery. It's black, but it's more silvery looking. And you can put that, if you have a big water jug in your, in your fridge, you can put some in there, or you can put it right in your water bottle, and it will purify heavy metals and fluoride. And, I actually get the big 5-gallon jugs, because I have like a big water dispenser, and I put the shungite right in there. So it's getting, even though I'm doing the reverse osmosis, I'm still purifying it. And then I'm adding the trace minerals back in, because if you are doing reverse osmosis, you'll definitely want to add the minerals back into your water. But the best thing you can get is fresh spring water if you can, and then just add the shungite to that. It'll clear out all the bad juju.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. I'm so glad that I asked about that, because that's something I gotta work on that.
Yeah. And that's okay. Like I said, it's just take one thing at a time. Don't overwhelm yourself, because when you're raising your frequency, you've got to think things happen really quickly in the energetic realm or the quantum field. So when you're healing or you're doing things in the quantum, it takes a little bit of a delay until it gets to the physical realm. So, you could be cleansing your energy and raising your frequency, and then boom, a month later, you come down with a sickness, and you're like, oh, what just happened? I've been, doing really good and detoxing and all these things. And it's because you're releasing stuff, there's a little bit of a lag time there between the energetic and the physical realm. And I'll do that. I go balls to the wall, like I'm going to energetically cleanse myself like a crazy person. And then physically I get sick. And a lot of it is just because it's part of the purging process. And just be aware that, slow and steady wins the race when it comes to detoxing.
Yeah, you're right about that, because I feel like, because like there's been times, for me, for my diet, it's been a very, over a long period of time that I've kind of been cutting out this. I have fibromyalgia. So I have to be super careful of what I put in my body. I just have to, or else I'm in bed. I'm stuck in bed. I'm in pain. I can't move. I don't want to talk to nobody. I'm just miserable. I can't do life. Like I really can't do life. And it's not depression. It's just my body is in so much pain, and nothing makes it better. The only thing that makes it better is when I watch my diet and I stay away from the carbs, and I stay away from the, all the gluten and the, all of that. And then I feel 100 times better, So it does have a lot to do, like who wants to be on medication all the time? Nobody.
No, and medications have heavy metals in them. And so, I too, like you, suffered with fibromyalgia to the point where I was almost paralyzed. My parents had to come take care of me. I could not get out of bed. I was in so much agonizing pain. And I will tell you what healed me: heavy metal cleansing. When you have fibromyalgia, it is your fiber optic system in your body that is out of whack. When you have heavy metal toxicity in your body, which 99% of us do because of the food we eat and the water we drink and the air we breathe, it breaks up our neurotransmitters, and it causes our circuits to just kind of go out of whack. And so when you start heavy metal cleansing, you will notice your fibromyalgia will go away, your chronic pain, your fatigue, your headaches, pretty much any dis-ease that you may have, you will start to notice it will start to alleviate. And some simple things you can do to heavy metal cleanse are zeolites. So I would suggest a powdered zeolite, just because it's more potent than the diluted. and bentonite clay. These are two very simple things that remove most heavy metals in the body. So you've got mercury, aluminum, lead, arsenic, the bad guys. And
Right.
the benefits of bentonite and zeolite is they actually introduce the good guys, the magnesium, the potassium, the sodium, the electrolytes that you actually want in your body. So, and like I said, I have these listed on my website. So for those of you out there like, where do I begin? I don't know. Just go to the existentialempath.com and click on physical wellness or physical well-being, I think it's called. And I've got those listed there. Another good resource is Medical Medium. I don't know if your listeners are familiar with the Anthony Williams Medical Medium.
Medical Medium. Okay.
Good
thing I got my notepad next to me.
I know. Well, the funny thing is, I guess I'm talking about this because I was putting together a presentation this morning on all of these topics. And
it's fantastic.
And it's good information. So my dad, he was diagnosed, this is probably 10, 15 years ago, diagnosed with prostate cancer, stage 3. And he had Lyme disease and Epstein-Barr virus. Well, one Christmas, I got him the Medical Medium book, Cleanse to Heal. And he read that thoroughly and started the Medical Medium protocols. And within that year, he eliminated his prostate cancer and his Lyme disease. Well, then I got him the other books because I think Medical Medium has maybe 5 or 6 books. Now my dad has the whole library, and he could probably work for Medical Medium, but he has officially cleared the Epstein-Barr virus out of his body. And so Medical Medium talks about this. He gets his information from a higher source, and he has put all of this in these books. Well, he has a heavy metal detox smoothie, and my dad was a contractor, so he dealt a lot with lead paints and stuff his whole life. And he had a lot of neuropathy, had a lot of nerve damage, and a lot of numbness in his fingers and toes. Well, once he did his first 90-day Medical Medium protocol for heavy metal cleansing, all of his neuropathy went away and all of his nerve numbness went away.
Wow.
His skin got brighter too. It went from kind of a grayish color to a perky. I could see in his cheeks. I could see his hair stopped graying as much. Usually when you have gray hair, it's a copper deficiency. Or if you get preliminary gray hair, I guess.
We don't like to talk
about it, but Medical Medium talks about all this stuff in his book. So I've got those listed on my website too, only because I have them. My dad, and I've seen results with my dad, fascinating results, with him, with his protocols. Yeah.
Wow. I got to check that out. Because even with my diet and controlling my diet, fibromyalgia is just bizarre. It's bizarre. You can wake up one day, something is bothering you. It could last a day, a week, a month, a year.
I know.
And then all of a sudden it's gone.
Yeah.
Like it never happened.
And it's a lot of it too is if you clearly are an empath, you're picking up on the subtle energies around you as well. And if your body isn't pure and cleansed, then you're going to have a hard time deciphering those energies. And so it's almost like if you were to visualize Niagara Falls pushing through a straw, it's like, if you're trying to channel information and your body isn't pure and cleansed, then it's going to be like Niagara Falls in a straw. It's not going to flow properly, and it's going to be very overwhelming to you. And the one organ, if you can really focus on the one organ to cleanse, it would be the liver. The liver is the one that purifies us and so much. So there's so many natural herbal remedies we can use, dandelion root tea, milk thistle, to clear your liver. Once you clear your liver, you will be able to process the toxins in your body much more efficiently, which will then reduce that fibromyalgia pain, because basically it's just your nervous system is on overdrive, and every, that fiber optic network in your body is just, short circuiting. And so that kind of optic network runs through our fascia, which the fascia, if you were to think of a chicken breast and it's that kind of skin on the top, we have that too, over our muscles. Well, that's where fibromyalgia kind of takes place, is in between the muscle and that thin fascia. And it's that literally a fiber optic network. And so many of us have to cleanse that fiber optic network in order to even receive the information. So you may be like, I I can't tune into my intuition. I don't understand why. Well, a lot of it starts with cleansing your physical body first. And then you'll notice,
then you're
oh my
gonna
gosh, I'm open to receiving more information.
The only thing that I get nervous about is I don't want to see, like when I talk to, like with Jessica and Amber, and they're like, yeah, I saw this crazy thing. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if I want to see all that now, y'all. Like,
Well, you can. Okay, so you have power over your own self and what you want to see and do. So you can actually, if you're not ready to open up. Okay, so I call them the clairs. Okay, so
let's talk about the clairs.
Let's talk about the clairs. So your clairvoyance is your seeing. Okay, and usually, when I started to do all this cleansing and I started to notice, I'm feeling energies around me. Something just touched me. I didn't notice this before. I'm hearing things more. I'm hearing tones and tunes more. I'm smelling things more. Well, I started to get nervous because I didn't want to wake up at 3 a.m. and see an apparition at the end of my bed. I would just freak out, So I actually sat down and wrote down a list of things to my higher self, my soul self, and said, I'm comfortable with blah, 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 blah. I am not comfortable with blah, 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 blah. So, and one of mine was, I'm not comfortable with waking up in the middle of the night seeing an apparition. That is not my jam. I don't want to do that.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you, because there's something that happens to me, and it doesn't happen all the time, but there are times when I go, like I'm going to sleep and I'm laying there and sounds so strange. It's almost as if maybe like a neighbor or somebody outside is playing music. And I mean, to the point where I'm almost understanding what the words are, I can hear the words, but I can't quite make out what it's saying. And then, but if I wanted to, I could literally sit there and hum whatever the song is. Sometimes it'll sound like country music, and sometimes it'll sound like church music, and sometimes it sounds like Spanish.
I've had angelic play, and it's funny you bring up this talk because I just talked to a friend about this the other day. She's like, Tonia, I'm hearing music and I have no neighbors near me. I don't know what's happening.
Oh my God, I didn't know that was a thing.
It's a thing. So your clairaudience, okay, so that's another, you got your clairvoyance, which is clear seeing. Clairaudience is clear hearing. You're activating your clairaudience. That's what's happening. So you're hearing in different realms. And so I hear angelic music sometimes. I'm just hanging out and I hear a harp and I'm like, I know my neighbors aren't playing a harp. There's no way, and an organ.
That is the coolest thing. Like I never, because it got to a point where it was so happening every night. I couldn't go to sleep and I was having to turn on fans and a sound machine because I couldn't sleep. I would oh my God, what are these people with this music? And why is it always weird? And why is it oh my gosh, I did not know.
So you're activating that. That's one of your abilities. Okay. So I'll go over each of them. So you've got clairvoyance, clear seeing, clairaudience is clear hearing, clairsentience is clear feeling. That's when you get goosebumps or you feel energies around you. You've got claircognizance is clear knowing. So that's just knowing, knowing something and you don't know why you know something. Like this happens to me. I'll know something about ancient Egypt and I'm like, how did I know that about ancient Egypt? I've never studied that, topic before. Then you have clairalien. I think it's called clairalience or I don't know how to pronounce it. Alience is clear smelling. I've had this before where I've been doing a paranormal investigation and I'll smell cigars or I'll smell sulfur or, something. I'm like, oh God, what is that?
My gosh, I didn't know that was a thing either.
That's the thing. So when you're doing paranormal researching, you'll notice these things. You'll tune in. Now, another one is the clairgustance is the taste. I've had this with clients. I'll be like, what emotion is it we need to clear? And then I taste a lemon in my mouth. I'm like, oh God, bitterness. Oh, I had that happen with clients before. And so these just, you'll notice which ones are stronger than others. And then you can kind of fine tune them, you know, just with your 5 senses. You know, you're like, I have really good eyesight, but my hearing isn't great. You know, you'll notice that when you start to really focus on one, you can really strengthen it and amplify it. So if you're already picking up on some of that stuff, you're already activating these dormant abilities. They're inside each and every one of us. We've just been bogged down by, you know, the third dimension and all this nonsense that they've been putting on us.
Yeah. I mean, it's true. Like, you don't, you know, probably a lot of us have these kind of things. And like I said, like, you don't know it's a thing until you start kind of seeking out certain, you know, channels or certain books or docuseries or what, you know what I mean? Like, you don't, but when you start down that path where you're like, I want to be a sponge. I want to see this and I want to read this and I want to hear that and I want to watch that. I feel like it's a calling almost, where you're kind of like, okay, this is like grabbed my attention. And there's something telling me I need to watch this or I need to hear that. And it's like, I just started like listening to that. Like, instead of just, you know, I don't watch as much reality TV as I used to.
Yeah, I don't either. I have a hard time with it because I don't resonate with it as much as I used to. It feels heavy to me. But I do like watching Sasquatch. I like watching documentaries, you know, a lot of different paranormal stuff.
The only thing I get, like, I have to be careful because I love true crime, but it's some of it's kind of like not nice.
Yeah.
So I try not to delve into it too much because I shouldn't be.
Yeah, because what you focus on grows. Just remember that. If you're focusing on serial killers, you could attract a serial killer in your life. So just be very aware. Everything is energy. Everything has a vibration and a frequency. So just make sure you detach from it or clear your energy after you watch something like that.
Don't online date.
Don't
anybody online date.
Especially not in Idaho. That's where I live. There seems to be killers an hour south of me.
Unless you can really pick up on people's energy.
True.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, do not online date. Let me tell you, I had some
especially in
bad
Florida.
Dates. That's some very bad dates, Tonia.
I know. Hey, I'm right there with you, girl. I've been single for a long time, and some of those dates I went on in Florida, I wish I could have taken my life that time back.
Yes, right. Like it's how much time did you lose, right? Just online dating, because they're just
Now I learned the art of muscle testing many years ago. It's applied kinesiology. It's where you can tap into energies. And so now I can just muscle test their picture and be like, will this relationship benefit me? Oh no. Okay. I'm not going to waste my time and go on that date then. How many dates should I go on with this person? Okay, 3. All right. We'll give it a shot.
I love it. I love it. I know it's kind of fun. And actually, oh yeah, that's right. You did do a show on your channel about dating, kind of like,
oh
right?
Yes, like, energy and sex, yes, and empaths, yes. I did do a show on that.
Yeah,
we've got to be very aware of the energy that we are, especially when it comes to trauma and emotions. When you have intercourse with someone, we're exchanging energy, right? And so if you've been really diligently working on your frequency, and then you go on a date and you have sex with someone who's still in their heavier frequencies and they haven't processed their trauma, then 9 times out of 10, you're going to carry that for them. And then next thing you know, you have lower back pain, or you're having nightmares, or, you know, you're having, your period is off, or I don't even know, but just weird.
Yeah, but there can be a lot. There's more. I mean, okay. So people talk about like, oh, let's have safe, everybody should be having safe sex, but we need to be also practicing spiritually safe sex. In all honesty, it's true. Because
you really want to be with someone who's on your same frequency if you can.
Because if you're not like physically in that same space with someone, they could really bring you to a really bad place.
Yeah.
And you have to be careful when you're It's something to consider, folks. Okay.
It really is. And it's something that us as empaths, we have a tendency to carry the energy of others. And so when we're connecting, because honestly, sexuality is, you can manifest and create things. The Egyptians knew this, many of our ancient ancestors knew this, that when two people come together and set an intention, you can create a lot of stuff. Not just a child, but you can actually bring your energy together. We're like organite, or orgone energy. And so, I've actually had one partner where we were doing the inner work. We were raising our frequency and we were doing it, and we had intercourse and we blew the television. Like, I'm not even lying. Like, we blew the television, and I'm like, okay, this is no joke. Like, this is real,
Yes.
And light bulbs. He's like, the 2 weeks that I had gone home, the 2 weeks I was there, we blew 7 light bulbs. And this is something that when you have higher frequency intercourse or sexual relations, whoa, it can be really awesome, And so, but when you're doing it in the lower frequencies, that's when it can feel heavy. It can feel trauma bonding. It can feel even codependent, and all these other lower frequencies can come to the surface, and they may not even be yours. They could be someone else's, because that's how energy attachments attach too, is through sexual energy. They love it. They love that feeling of sexual energy, Yeah,
because people, people joke around like, oh, sex magic, but that's a real thing. And that people do actually practice that.
Totally.
I'm sorry. I still have this like throat thing from a couple of weeks ago. I got like this cold thing, and so my voice goes in and out sometimes. Another thing that I wanted to talk to you about. I want to talk about like synchronicities and number sequences. Let's talk about that.
Okay.
Because I have, and on my show last night with Jamie Whitaker, we talked about that. And because I see 1111 constantly. I don't see really any other series of numbers. It's 11, 11, 11, 11. And I always feel like when I see it, it's a synchronicity, or not necessarily it's the synchronicity, but it's kind of saying like, hey, you're on the right track. Like validating that I'm like, you're on the right track. You're doing okay, or whatever. It's a comforting feeling that I get when I see it. So is that kind of true? Is it?
No, that's right. So 1111 is the wake up call. Okay. So it's basically, hello, you're waking up. You're waking up to the idea we live in an illusion. We live in a matrix. We could potentially be living in a simulation or a hologram.
Right.
I know Jessica and I have done shows on that before. Where, I think of the movie Free Guy with Ryan Reynolds, and, that's basically what's going on. So, I saw 9/11 first. When I first started waking up, it was like basically telling me, slow down and pay attention, and so that's what the first number sequence I saw. And then 1111 came after that. And that's kind of like your little, it's like, okay, you're expanding your consciousness. You're waking up to the reality of what's going on in the world. And I do notice I see different number sequences based off of what I'm doing and where I'm focusing. So if I'm focusing in the angelic realm, I see 444 all the time. If I'm focusing more on ascended masters, like say Jesus or Buddha or whatever, I see 333 all the time. Or, so I do notice mine will change based off of where I'm learning, or what I'm learning, or where I'm focusing. Yeah, but I see 44. That's probably my go-to number. I see it all the time, all over the place, all the time. I mean, I could look at the clock 10 times a day and it's always a 44 on there, and I'm like,
that's so crazy.
Yeah. So
me too. Like, I don't spend a lot of time checking my watch or any of that. I really don't. I'm too busy for that. But it never fails. 11:11 in the morning and 11:11 at night. It never fails.
So take it to a new level and set an intention when you see 11:11. Say an affirmation or set an intention of something that you want. So, it's a power. That's a power number. So, anytime we see a synchronicity, you want to, kind of take a step back and observe. your environment and see, okay, what's going on right now? What thought did I just have for me right before I saw 1111? Because oftentimes we're, and I've had this happen. It'll be 11:10 and I'll be staring at my iPhone like, oh, I want to see 11:11. It'll flip right to 11:12 and I won't even see 11:11. And then it'll go right back to 11:11. And I'm like, oh, I just shifted my reality. And I talk about that on my channel, the reality transurfing and quantum leaping, because it's all energy, right? And so what you focus on grows. So if you're seeing 11:11, like maybe write down something that you want to say. I am blah, 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 whatever it is. And every time you see it, say that and speak it into existence, because that's how we create. We have the thought, we feel it, and then we amplify it by speaking it into existence. And if you use those synchronicity numbers on top of it, you're actually in alignment with the universe, you know, at that time. So there's a reason you're seeing 11:11, but yeah, you just pay more attention consciously to when you're seeing it, what you're thinking, what are you doing? Because there's a deeper meaning behind it. Oftentimes, I mean, they call them angel numbers, but there's an even deeper meaning, you know, behind it.
Yeah. I mean, and it started about 3 years ago is when I started seeing consistently 11:11. And during that time period is kind of when I started. I mean, I've always known I've had certain abilities. I've always known that I've had certain abilities. But then when I started kind of coming out about my abilities, talking about my abilities, sharing what I pick up or hear or things like that, sharing that with people, it seemed like I started seeing him more and more and more. So yeah. So that's why I always was like, yeah, you're on the right track. You're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Keep going. Yeah.
It's like a validation. And
yeah. And
I'll say I moved from Florida to the Pacific Northwest, and 44 was the number I followed. I was seeing it on license plates. I was seeing it on state lines. I was seeing it on the gas. It was insane how much I saw it. And I knew deep down in my heart that I was on the right path. I knew that making that humongous move from Florida to the Pacific Northwest was in my best interest, because I was getting that validation from the time I left Florida all the way to the time I got out to Washington. You know, it was like, I was just seeing 44. And when I wouldn't see it, it was like, okay, am I still on the right path? And then a minute or two would go by and I'd see 44 again. So I just knew that is my number. And I don't know why that's my number, but I know that for me, when I am maybe trying to make a choice in something and I'm not sure which way to go, if I see 44 one way or the other, then I'm like, okay, that's the way I need to go, because that's just my validation number.
That's so cool. So we talked a little bit about manifestation. So let's talk about that a little bit more. So you're right. Our words have power, right?
Yes.
And when you want to manifest something and you are working hard at it, and ask Jessica, because Marty was the one that manifested her own missing time situation up in Georgia. Okay. All right.
Well, and a lot of it is
one, because supposedly all of us were supposed to be, you know, manifesting the same thing. Apparently 2 of the 3 team members wasn't doing it. Only Marty was.
Well, when you come together and you set in an intention as a group, you can create what's known as the Maharishi effect. Now, I saw this when I lived in Florida. Okay, so I lived in Orlando. It was back 4 or 5 years ago when we had that huge storm. It was like a category 5. It was a big dog. I don't remember the name of it. I forgot it. I don't remember if it was a male or female.
I don't know. We've had so many.
We have so many. But what I witnessed is that it was heading towards Miami. A bunch of people headed to the beach in Miami and started praying. They're like, go away, go, you know, pray, please save us, whatever. Well, it flipped over and went to the other side. It was going to come up on the Keys side. A bunch of people went over to the beach and started praying, go away. We don't want you here, blah. That thing went back and forth 3 or 4 times, because I was in Orlando debating, should I go to my sister's in Sarasota or should I stay put? Because I was back and forth. Well, I was witnessing the Maharishi effect happening during that storm, because so many people were setting an intention, a desired intention that was consistent, and it was literally changing the weather patterns. And if you go back and if you go in and look up the Maharishi effect, It's basically a man who got a group of people together in a small village in, I believe it was India. And he had everyone pray for the village. It had a ton of crime and a bunch of stuff going on. Well, when people started, just setting in an intention and a focused intention and praying, raising the frequency, what happened is the crime started to diminish and people became happier and there was much more peace in that town. So there is something to be said when people come together as a group and they focus their intention. And then when you have the emotion behind it, so you're just like, all right, I want to have a Sasquatch experience. Okay. We all go out as a group and we say, our intention today is to have a Sasquatch experience. What does that feel like? What would a Sasquatch experience feel like to you? It may feel different to everyone. Someone may be fearful. Someone may be curious. Someone may be loving. Who knows, So having that discussion beforehand, okay, what would that feel like to you? Because if we're not all on the same page, we're going to have a hard time attracting that, into reality. It really comes down to how we feel. That's how we magnetize, is how we feel. And if we're consciously saying something, but on the subconscious, it's a totally different, feeling, different thought, then we're not going to attract what we want. But if we sit to our heart and we really focus on the feeling of it, then that's when we can bring things into our existence. Yeah.
I know manifestation is really powerful. It really works and it's very powerful. Very powerful.
Very powerful. And when you get like minds together to do it, it can be even more powerful. We've had groups of people come together and we've manifested some awesome experiences in our lives. And, and I've done it even personally too. So, but it's a practice. It's like anything else, yoga or, whatever you want to practice it. And once you find that sweet spot and you get good at it, you're like, wow, this is it, because it's all energy. You're working in the quantum field,
So we're coming up on an hour. Are you,
Wow.
I know, I can't believe it. I looked at the clock. I'm like, okay, well, it's not 11:11, but so we got about 10 minutes. So one more thing I wanted to kind of talk, I wanted you to talk tonight about is the quantum healing that you do.
Yeah.
Like the quantum. Yeah. because I think that is like, it's amazing. And I think that I don't think that there's a lot of people that know about that. And I really, really want you to cover a little bit about it and what it is and how it works. And
so what I do, so I do a lot of different modalities and I've got 2 different healing sessions. I have a personal healing session where I use EFT tapping, which is basically like needleless acupuncture. So you're tapping on acupressure points and you're moving through the body and you're saying statements. And what you're doing is you're actually connecting both the right and left hemispheres of the brain. I also do the emotion code, which is what we talked about earlier, the muscle testing. So I connect your energy and I muscle test to see where you may have trapped emotions or unprocessed trauma or whatever it may be. And oftentimes in those sessions, light language can come up too. I've even had people's loved ones come through. It's really dependent on the other person's energy and what information they need, at the time during that session. But the other session I do is what's called Quantum Healing Hypnosis. And I think people get really afraid or deterred from the word hypnosis. But really what I'm doing is I'm guiding you through a very deep meditation. There's different states of brainwaves, and the theta brainwave state is when you're in a meditative state, and that's when the healing can occur. So when I get you into that deep theta state, you are coming up with 10 questions prior to our session, questions that you want answered from your higher self or from your soul self, from your subconscious mind, from God, whatever you want to call it. You're coming up with your 10 questions. And then I'm going to guide you through the meditation to get you into the theta. And then we're going to move in and start asking these questions. These answers are coming from you. They're actually coming from I call it the cosmic internet or the Akashic field, or the Akashic records. This information is coming through you. Now, this could come from past lives. It could come from current life. It could come from the galactics, the elementals. I mean, really, it's what your frequency is the information that's going to come through. When I first did my first quantum healing session, I had 4 different personalities come through. I had a childlike spirit come through. My voice got really giddy and high. And then I had my higher self come through, and that was no joke. It was like very serious. And my friend who was conducting the interview or the hypnosis, he said he almost blew back in the chair. He said, when my higher self came through, he felt this presence of seriousness, this higher divinity come through. And I was actually answering questions before he was even asking them. So my higher self was already on the ball, you know, like, okay. And he said he felt very intimidated, you know, by that. So when someone's higher self comes through, it's just this very expanded aspect of them. And it can look very different, but oftentimes it's a much more subtler tone in voice. It'll come through more monotone and very serious and very straightforward. So I can usually tell when the higher self is here. It's like, oh, it's no joke, you know?
Yeah, right.
Versus say a childlike spirit, you're like, oh, hi, I'm the toy spirit, you know? But yeah, so I guide you through that. And then we just try to see what are your questions? Do you want healing? Do you want to know about your past lives? Maybe you had a dog man encounter and you want to know more about it. So we can take you back there and see, why did you experience that? What did you experience? Let's visualize it. Let's move through it and see, what you need to learn. Maybe you want to connect with your galactics, maybe you want to figure out what your galactic origins are. I mean, I'm a firm believer we all have all the galactic origins. It's just a matter of what frequency we want to tune into. But you may want to learn more about the Orion Wars you were involved in, or, whatever. I mean, it's really based off of you and the questions that you want to ask. And then I'm just kind of there like, some people have said it's kind of like a spiritual journey that I take people on. It's just getting you relaxed and into a state where you can actually access the subconscious mind.
That's so cool.
It's really fun. It's fun for me too.
If people want to book a session, they go where? To your
my website, theexistentialempath.com. And if you haven't had a session with me before, you can enter empath 15. You'll get $15 off your first session. And like I said, it can go anywhere. I've had sessions where someone wanted to contact their dragon, and we got in there and their dragon was talking to my dragon. And I'm like, whoa, like, I didn't even know I had a dragon. I guess I do now, And so, the sessions can be very serious or very playful. It really just depends on the person's energy and what information their higher self thinks that they need at that time,
Wow. That is so cool. That is so cool. What about it? Okay. One of the things that I struggled with the most when I started kind of like really opening myself up was meditation. What kind of techniques can we use to try to like get into, a good meditative, like mindset? I don't know how I want to say this. It's kind of like when I first started trying to meditate, I didn't know any better. And it was like, I thought I had to meditate for like an hour,
yeah.
And then I meet Amber, and Amber's like, Marty, just 5 minutes.
Okay. 5 minutes. Yeah. I would suggest starting off with 5 minutes
start off. Yeah.
Okay. So if you have a hard time meditating in general, start with guided meditations. Jason Stevenson on YouTube. Michael Seeley is a good one. There's some out there. I would start with that. So you just get accustomed to teaching your nervous system to relax, and then you can start to visualize. What you'll begin to notice is you may fall asleep during those, and that's okay, because then you're going to be in that theta brainwave state where all that healing takes place. When your conscious mind falls asleep, your subconscious is still awake and it's still processing and going. So I would start off with guided meditations first if you have a really difficult time meditating. Also, if you're just trying to meditate in general, try to find a place that's quiet, maybe next to a stream or a river, or outside with the birds, or somewhere that's doesn't have a lot of distractions going on. That's, when you're overcoming distractions during meditation, that's usually a more advanced person who's
Right.
meditating, versus someone who's just starting off trying to do that. And like I said, start with 5 minutes, and you're not trying to shut off your thoughts. You're just trying to observe them. So you're going to just be observing what's coming in. Okay, what is that thought about? Okay, grocery store. Okay, I got to do all the stuff. But there's a technique Jessica probably knows, I see here in the chat, called the set aside technique that we learned in remote viewing. Before you meditate, write everything down that you don't want to come up in your meditation, like the grocery list, or your appointment tomorrow, or whatever. Write it down and say, I'm setting this aside for now. I'm giving myself 5 or 10 minutes to meditate. I will give attention to this later. Well, what you're doing is you're telling your subconscious mind it's okay to set that aside, so it doesn't disrupt your meditation. And that is very useful. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's a great technique. Okay, I'm trying that. I'm for sure trying that. For sure.
And that's been good for remote viewing too, because when you sit down to remote view, you have all these things going in your mind, and you want a pretty clear mind, when you sit down to do those types of things.
Yeah. I've tried some of Jessica's remote viewing targets, the blind targets that she does, because I'm a member of her Patreon, and everybody should go and check out her Patreon.
Yes.
Are you on Patreon too?
No, not yet. I'm thinking about it, but I might just do light language on Patreon. I don't know. I haven't decided yet.
Light language. I love light language. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. I can't say that I've tried it. The interesting thing about it though was it just seemed like
baby talk.
I don't know. It seemed very just a lot of the same words over and over and over. It just seemed like I wasn't kind of like developing anything else. It was kind of, so I wasn't sure if maybe these were messages or maybe they were songs that I was supposed to continue to learn or to. Does that make sense?
It could be. So usually in the beginning stages of light language, you're toning your muscles in your throat and in your mouth.
Okay.
So that could be why you're saying the same things over, because you're learning to tone. Because when you speak light language, you use all these different muscles and all these different pitches, because it's all frequency based. And so when I first started, it was sounded like baby talk, really. And then now it's like I get all these different consonants and
and like in different like inflections, and you're just like, and because like when it first happened to me, I was listening to like I can't remember whose channel it was. It was someone's channel, and she was doing the light language and giving a message, and it was like all of a sudden I'm listening to that, and then I'm doing it, and I'm like, wait.
Activated
How did this happen?
Yeah. So you were activated. Most of us hold that knowledge and wisdom inside of us. Yeah. And so that'll happen to me sometimes when I'll speak light language in a quantum session. And then the next day the person is like, I'm speaking light language, or, so we all have the ability to activate, one another. It's just, do you feel comfortable sitting there talking some weird language? But really it's our divine language, and it's coming from God. And, it's very similar to speaking in tongues. And I know Tom Springer brought that up to me one time. And, we talked about that, how light language is very similar to speaking in tongues. Yeah,
it is. It is. But I will tell you, I always feel, because it always happens when I want to, like when I get into like a bubble bath and I'm nice and I'm relaxed and I'm like in this, like, that's when it just kind of starts. And when I feel so good. I don't understand. I can't explain how it makes you feel inside.
It
like
raises your frequency
out. It just makes your whole body feel
tingly.
Tingly, a little. You feel like you just got like kind of like
hugged by an angel,
a little bit, right? Kind of like, that static electricity thing, we used to do with the balloons, and you know what I mean? Like, but that's kind of how at least that's how it makes me feel. Like,
No, it's awesome. It's amazing. And, Jessica and I have talked about how we think light language is what some of the Sasquatch speak when we hear the samurai chatter, or, whatever, that they're actually speaking cosmic language. And so, I told her I want to go out there with a megaphone and just start talking light language and see if we get responses. But
that would be so cool.
That'd be really fun. Yeah.
Yeah, because everybody, in case I left that out a little bit, but we didn't really talk about it tonight. But Miss Tonia is also She's also a Sasquatch and an, researcher as well. So we're going to have you back to talk about just the Sasquatch
I know. And
and
hey, you've
that
got
research.
Angelique coming on soon. So her
Yes.
and I, we've done a lot of adventures together. So I'm sure she'll be sharing a lot of stories of things that we've done too.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I really am. I still got to have you back for a part 2 at some point. We got to figure it out. I know you're a busy lady. You have your own channel, the Existential Empath. You've got your website. What else? Where else can we find you?
So yeah, YouTube, the Existential Empath, and I have a podcast, the Existential Empath Podcast, and then of course my website. Those are the best ways to find me.
That's awesome. Oh, hey, Matt brought up a good point. I want to get your take on this.
Which one?
My next experiment is getting myself a shofar and calling in the Nephilim.
What's a shofar?
It's like the ram's horn that the Israelites, that the
like that they blew into?
use. Yeah, that they blow into.
Oh, interesting. See, there you go. Like, I do think sound plays a huge role when communicating with any cryptids. I do feel we go out into the woods and play sound bowls because sound holds frequency, and that's what light language does too. So these beings are at oftentimes a higher frequency than we are here in the third dimension. So we can communicate through sound with these beings. There's a Sasquatch gathering that we have here that my friend, you should have her on your show, Kelly Rainbow Butterfly. Amazing stories of Sasquatch. And she holds a huge event, and we've done sound bowl healings at night, and the amount of paranormal activity that comes in, orb activity, Sasquatch, the smells coming through the campsite, and the sounds, and the tree knocks, and
my God,
they're celebrating with us is what it feels like. And so yeah, if you can take a sound bowl out with you, you might be surprised at the type of response that you get. And even the elementals, they love that stuff,
Oh, wow. Okay, because I have one. It's a little one. It's a tiny one I have, but it'll work, I'm sure.
Yeah, just give it a shot. At this point, we just like trying new things and seeing what happens, and
absolutely
seeing what types of response we get.
Yeah, absolutely. Tonia, thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here tonight. I can't. Girl, did we
went by fast?
Some stuff in an
hour?
We're
having fun.
I mean, we went from detoxing the body to, practicing safe
language,
spiritual sex.
Oh, we did talk about that too. I forgot. Sorry, everybody. It got a little X-rated there for about
Sasquatch.
2 minutes.
We were everywhere tonight, and I love it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Do you have a few minutes that we can spend time after the show backstage?
Of course. Yes.
Okay.
I'll hang out.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Make sure you guys go and follow her channel, subscribe, hit that notification bell. She has amazing content. Things, even one of my favorite episodes. Let's just, if you don't mind, let's talk about the episode that you put on your YouTube channel where you were talking about raising children and their spiritually.
Oh yeah.
So that I think that a lot of people, and I even posted, I think on my community tab, like, hey, if you have grandchildren, if you have children, go check this out. It's important.
And so, I don't personally have children myself, but I do like to bring guests on that can share information from across the board. And so, our children are so intuitive, and they're coming in at a higher frequency. So these star seeds, these children that are being born, are bringing in new knowledge that we may not even, we have it, we just don't remember that we have it. So they're actually activating us, these children. And so if you can spend some time around kids, you might be surprised at what you learn and what you remember, because these kids, I know, even me as a child, I could see and sense energies around me very easily. I spoke to fairies and the elementals, and that was very common for me. But as time went on, I got picked on, so then I shut those abilities off. But our kids are so powerful and so intuitive. So foster those abilities within your children. Don't, when your child comes to you and says, I have an imaginary friend, don't just poo-poo them. Kids can see earthbound spirits. Kids can see galactics. They can see other beings outside of what we can physically see here in the third dimension. And so, really foster their creativity and their intuitive abilities, because these kids are going to be the wave of the future here. They're coming in and they're teaching us how to remember our unique abilities. And so anytime I can get around a 6-year-old or a 7-year-old, I'm like, okay, what do you know? What do you see? What's going on? Can you see Sasquatch? How do you talk to Sasquatch? I had a kid, Marty, I had a kid. So I went to this ranch out here in Washington. And the night before, I had a download of light language. And I drew all of these signs and symbols out. I had no idea what they were. Well, I took him with me, and I met this little 10-year-old boy, and I was just chatting with his mom, and the 10-year-old boy says, well, can I see the symbols? And I said, sure. So I pull out my phone and I show him these symbols. And first of all, I had them a certain way, and he takes it and flips it upside down and says, you have these upside down. And I'm like, okay. And then he goes, these are portals. He said, this spiral is a portal. These points are mountains. This ripple is a river. He goes, everything that you drew here is a portal on the earth grid. And I'm like, what? Like, this is a 10-year-old telling me exactly what I had no clue what I drew, but he's giving me the information. I just had goosebumps going like crazy.
I got goosebumps right now.
I know. And so we've got to tap into our children's information that they're bringing, because they're bringing a higher frequency onto the planet. And, we can't just disregard what they have to say because we think they have huge imaginations, which I think us as adults, we have to find our imaginations again and really tap into.
We do. You're so right. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
This was a fun show. Thanks for having me on, Marty.
Oh, anytime. I'm telling you, got to find a way to have you come back again. Okay.
For sure.
All right. Thank you so much. Wait for me backstage.
I will.
Okay. Wasn't that amazing, guys? Tonia is fabulous. She rocks it. She rocks it. And, thank you guys for being here tonight, everybody. I really appreciate it. The support that you guys show me is it makes me feel amazing inside that you guys are here every week. And thank you so much. And you guys are my family, my soul tribe. Thank you guys. And next week, please be back next week. We will be talking to Outcast Paranormal. We're going to be talking to RPG. You've seen RPG on Expedition Bigfoot. He's also been on Finding Bigfoot. And he and I are going to be talking about their new documentary, and it's called Sitonga, Bigfoot Spirits and Faith. It's out now. Watch it before the show next week, okay? Because we are going to also be joined, RPG and I are going to be joined by Barry Webster of Res Squatching. And this documentary was all about his team and how they approach the Sasquatch subject and how they approach the Sasquatch themselves. So go watch it. You're gonna love it. So be back next week for that interview. Next Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Thanks, guys. Have a wonderful evening. And let's see, I can't forget my outro that Matt made me. All right, guys, have a great week. I'll see you next time.